Marjorie Taylor Greene's actually standing up to Donald Trump. She's throwing him under the bus, and she's afraid, it seems, that someone may try to do her harm because she's putting her name to that discharge petition to release the Epstein files. And despite the pressure coming from the White House, she says she will never remove her name from that discharge petition, and she's worried that someone's going to hurt her. Let me just read what she just posted. She goes, "I am not suicidal and one of the happiest, healthiest people you will meet." Okay. "I have full faith in God and Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. As a sinner, I am only saved through his grace and mercy. With that said, if something happens to me, I ask you all to find out which foreign government or powerful people would take heinous actions to stop information from coming out, not only about this issue," referring to Epstein, "but because of the truth I have been speaking. The people understand what I'm saying." I mean, is she saying that people in the Trump regime are going to be coming after her and doing her harm? So if something happens to her, she wants the world to know that she's not suicidal because she wants the Epstein files released, and she's not caving to Donald Trump's pressure to remove her name from that discharge petition? I mean, she posted that message over. She's been posting all day stuff like this because we know, right, the Trump regime is putting pressure on Marjorie Taylor Greene, Nancy Mace, Thomas Massie, he's not taking his name off of the petition, and Lauren Boebert to remove their name from the discharge petition because a Democratic Congresswoman-elect, Adelita Grijalva, she just won the election in Arizona's 7th Congressional District. She's on her way right now to Washington, D.C., and she's demanding that MAGA Mike Johnson swear her in on Monday the way he swore in other people who arrived in Congress as the Congress members-elect. Just take a look at what Marjorie Taylor Greene posted as well. And by the way, Adelita Grijalva becomes the 218th signature on the discharge petition, so the Epstein file vote would take place potentially as early as Monday if Adelita Grijalva gets sworn in, which she should. And we know now, MAGA Mike Johnson saying, "I'm not going to swear you in until we get the official vote tally," even though that's never been the standard before. At the end of the day, she won her election, the special election last week, by over 40 points. There's no dispute or question that she won. She destroyed the Republican. She outperformed former Vice President Kamala Harris's 2024 numbers by 20-plus points. That shows you, again, another Democratic overperformance. But here's what Marjorie Taylor Greene posted as well. She goes, "To be clear, to set the record straight on my support for the Massie Epstein discharge petition, I stand with the girls and women who were sexually abused and raped, period, every time, at all times. For me, it's not about a pissing contest between political parties or political enemies. The Epstein rape and pedophile network must be exposed. The women and their attorney have said over and over that Donald Trump did nothing wrong, and he was the only one that helped the women. This is factually true. Also, the Democrats who had the power for the past 4 years never did a single thing or show they even cared about these women who were victims of Jeffrey Epstein. They could have exposed the entire thing while they had power, but never lifted a finger to do so. If anyone is implicated, then they have the right to clear their name, just as millions of Americans have had to do when falsely accused of a crime. I've had to do that many times and even had to defend myself against lies and pay massive attorney bills to do it. For example, I was wrongly accused of insurrection and actually had to sit on a witness stand in a Georgia court of law and defend myself and clear my name. Release all the Epstein information by any means possible and return the focus to helping Americans and return the focus to helping Americans. I hear daily about how Americans can't afford to pay their health insurance monthly premium, can't afford rent, can't afford to buy a home, can't afford to pay for care for their aging parents, and can't afford life in general. The obsession over the Epstein files and fighting about it should not be happening and needs to end, but it's only an issue in the news because it has become a political fight, and it should not be one. My name is staying on the discharge petition, and I will dive into the Oversight Committee's investigation, just as I do with every investigation. And to be clear, once again, I stand with the woman and the women who were raped at 14. That's her statement. I mean, look, I can easily fact check her when she tries to attack the Democrats for not releasing the Epstein files. I think because, where she talks about, I hear daily about Americans who can't afford health insurance monthly premiums. The Democrats under former President Joe Biden were focused on doing things like that and trying to clean up Donald Trump's mess. Also, you had Ghislaine Maxwell's appeal before the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. That only ended about a year ago, I think like last September. So you really couldn't even release the files if you wanted to while her initial appeal was pending. The Second Circuit recently rejected her appeal, and now she's filed with the United States Supreme Court. But this issue about, saying that we're going to release the Epstein files, this was the issue that Trump ran on. This is what he and MAGA said they were going to do over and over again. So that was your issue, right? Former President Biden's issue was we're going to revitalize manufacturing, we're going to improve NATO, and we're going to add Sweden, and we're going to add other countries, and Sweden and Finland to NATO. Foreign policy stability. We're going to get us out of the deranged Trump COVID policy and get us past that. And we got to fix the fact that Donald Trump caused all of this inflation by causing the United States of America to incur like $8.5 trillion of debt. Trump's responsible for like 30% of all of the debt out there. So those were the priorities. I mean, to be clear, but here Marjorie Taylor Greene is also attacking the Trump regime on issues like health insurance, monthly premiums, can't afford rent, can't afford to buy a home, can't afford to pay for care. And what's so interesting is as we're approaching this government shutdown, which I also call the Jeffrey Epstein shutdown, because one of the reasons I believe why MAGA Mike Johnson is not allowing votes to take place on Monday and Tuesday is because he doesn't want Adelita Gravala, the congresswoman-elect from Arizona, to be sworn in, because if she's sworn in, there'll be the discharge petition. We'll have the 218 signature, and it will go to the floor for a vote. But the main issue that Democrats are fighting for in this continuing resolution is to allow Americans right now to have their Affordable Care Act tax credits continued so that it doesn't expire, because Americans are going to then have to pay 2 to 3 times their current monthly premiums, which would bankrupt a lot of Americans. So that also seems to be consistent there with Marjorie Taylor Greene was actually saying. So you see her coming out there against the Trump regime and also worrying that she could be hurt. That's why she's saying, I'm not suicidal, after basically saying that about the Trump regime. Now, the interview I did with Congresswoman-elect Adelita Grijalva is going ultra viral right now, because she told me that MAGA Mike didn't want to swear her in because he's covering up the Epstein files, among other reasons, because she becomes the 218th vote on that discharge petition. Democratic Congressmember Ro Khanna, who was one of the people responsible for leading the charge of this discharge petition, along with MAGA Republican Congressmember Tom Massey, says, enough of the games to protect a rich and corrupt elite. The American people want transparency and justice for the survivors. Swear in Adelita for Arizona. Here's what Congresswoman-elect Adelita Grijalva told me. Here, play this clip.
So the latest is I was looking at the example of now Representative Walkinshaw from Virginia, who was elected 2 weeks ago Tuesday, and that following Wednesday, less than 24 hours, was sworn in, and with unofficial results. It literally says so in, the congressman who was introducing him, like, here's unofficial results, but it's not disputed, and it was approved without objection. So for me, this Chicana from Tucson, apparently the rules have now changed in 2 weeks, and we're being asked for official results. And there's conversations with our Secretary of State, Fontes. And so I'm sort of wondering why in 2 weeks the rules are so different. And maybe it has something to do with the fact that I'm number 218. I don't know.
Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene also previously said, and this was directed at Donald Trump because Donald Trump says the Epstein files are a hoax. This is a big hoax. And she goes, this isn't a hoax. Also, Donald Trump and his regime, although she acts like this didn't come from Donald Trump when it came directly from Donald Trump. This is where, like, Marjorie Taylor Greene, you're like, what? Yeah, it was Donald Trump who said it. That it is a politically hostile act to sign the discharge petition if you're a Republican. It is a hostile act to the regime to demand the release of the Epstein files, and it will be treated accordingly as though you're engaged in a hostile act. Marjorie Taylor Greene's like, whoever said it at the Trump regime, they're a traitor. It's Trump who said it. Trump. Here, play this clip.
Today he called it a hoax. While these women were speaking out, and they were saying, we're not a hoax, we're human beings. And I think we need to see something turn around there.
You know,
and I'll say this, Eric.
He can prove it's a hoax by releasing it. Let us decide if it's a hoax or not. I mean, I love everything they're doing. I'm MAGA through and through.
Well, I just want to finish up on one thing. Yeah. It's not a hoax because Jeffrey Epstein is a convicted pedophile. That takes away the whole hoax things. It's not a hoax. It's not a lie. And on that note, Eric, every Republican should be able to sign on to this. And that's the real hoax, that they're afraid to sign on to it because somebody who is a real coward from one of the Trump admin officials came out and called this a hostile act against the Trump administration. I take very big offense to that because I put my life and my fortune on the line fighting to get that man elected. And whoever said that has their job because of people like me that fought all the horrible Republicans that stabbed him in the back after January 6th. And I was one of those that fought on the front lines and said, no, he is the leader of our party. He is the president, and we're going to make him president again. Well, that coward attacked me and attacked anybody else and called it a hostile act. The hostile act was Jeffrey Epstein raping 14-year-old girls. That was the hostile act, and it's not a hoax.
Now also, Marjorie Taylor Greene posted that good reporting by that guy James O'Keefe, who did that undercover report of that FBI agent who had said that when he reviewed the Epstein files, he saw that Epstein was a CIA agent, and that Donald Trump wanted to cover up for other rich and powerful people, and that's one of the things that was taking place. Now, the Department of Justice says this guy was just pretending to be he was an FBI agent, but he didn't have a significant position. He was overstating his access to the files, but the Trump regime lies about everything. Ro Khanna also posts, when Matt Gaetz and Mike Walls left Congress, Republicans swore on their replacements during a pro forma session. If they don't do the same for Adelita Grijalva of Arizona on Tuesday, they'll be breaking precedent. The only reason is to block the release of the Epstein files, hence the Jeffrey Epstein shutdown. Ro Khanna was on MSNBC with our friend Jen Psaki, and here's what he had to say as well. Play this clip.
They aren't swearing her hand is because of this Epstein files. Can you believe that? The government is about to shut down, and they are so concerned about protecting these rich, powerful men and not having a vote on Epstein that they're not willing to swear in someone who won 69-29 in her election, and they're not willing to have us take votes this week.
I mean, I can believe it because we've seen what they've done over the last many, many months. But yes, I'm glad you called it out so people understand exactly what's happening here.
It's Congressman Robert Garcia. Now, we just received some new Epstein files and documents from the Epstein estate, and some of the names are going to surprise you. Now, in this actual batch, we've got flight logs, we've got financial records, we've got information about Epstein that goes back 30 years that we just received. The files show evidence of scheduled meetings with Peter Thiel and Steve Bannon, as well as a pending trip by Elon Musk to Epstein's infamous island. Did he go? That question needs to be asked. We also know other folks are listed as passengers, including Prince Andrew. And the more files we get, the more we realize how vast Epstein's network really was. It spanned the globe, reaching high places and powerful people. And like I've said before, I don't care how much money you have, how powerful you are, or if you're a Republican or a Democrat. If you harm the women and girls, you deserve to be exposed, and we have to get justice for the survivors. The Attorney General, Pam Bondi, has the power right now to release all of the files. We need them released. Release the files immediately. Thanks so much.
And then finally, as Democratic Congress member Dan Goldman had to say, look, Trump's in the Epstein files, and now all the MAGAs out there who have basically said, we want to release, now that they know Trump's in it, now they're doing cover-up stuff. Here's Congress member Goldman. Let's play.
Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. So now all of a sudden, the Republicans who were so aggressively intent on releasing the Epstein files because they were going to be a huge, explosive story about Democrats involved with Jeffrey Epstein are quiet. So the irony of these Republicans accusing the Democrats now of only being interested in this is for political purposes is so thick that it is almost sucking us into the quicksand. But let's go a step further. Because now the cover-up is getting so deep and so intense that this committee, which has oversight over the Department of Justice and would ordinarily be the one that is doing this investigation, is running away from it. Why? Because Chairman Comer is the useful idiot who will do the cover-up for Donald Trump. And what does that mean? Oh, well, now there is an oversight investigation, but you know what they're not asking for?
Those kind of comments, and he knows that. Gentleman's recognized.
Now, the oversight committee is doing an investigation, but you know what they're not asking for? You know what you did not put in the rule to confirm that investigation? We're not asking for the documents that were used to open the investigation, who provided the information. They're not asking for witness statements, victim witness statements. They're not asking for recordings that may exist. They're not asking for any of the evidence that might include Donald Trump. And rather than acknowledge that you're just trying to cover up for Donald Trump's knowledge and involvement in the Jeffrey Epstein scheme, you're trying to accuse us of being interested.
Well, there you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe.